The anger and gridlock in Congress, particularly in the House, go beyond a simple budget dispute. This has escalated into a complex power struggle where the funding for the TSA has become collateral damage in a much larger war over immigration, party ideology, and political leverage. Here's a more detailed breakdown of the tensions the TSA as a political hostage. The core issue is that TSA funding is bundled within the larger Department of Homeland Security, DHS, budget. For Democrats, this created an opportunity by withholding votes for the entire DHS budget. They can force a conversation about ICE, an agency they believe operates with too much aggression and too little oversight. It's a powerful, if risky, move to leverage a must-pass funding bill to achieve long-sought immigration policy changes. A schism in the Republican Party. The situation has exposed a fundamental divide between different factions of the Republican Party. Senate Republicans, led by John Thune, have taken a more pragmatic approach. They see the airport chaos as a public relations disaster and a failure of government. Their goal is to resolve the immediate crisis, restore order, and show that their party can govern effectively. Passing a clean bill that funds the TSA while postponing the fight over ICE seems like a logical compromise to them. House Republicans under Speaker Mike Johnson are operating from a more ideological standpoint. They view any deal that doesn't include full unconditional funding for ICE and border operations as a complete surrender to the Democrats. For them, this is a line in the sand issue. Central to their party's platform, backing down would be seen as a betrayal of their base and a sign of weakness. The blame game and political calculus. Every side is acting based on who they think will be blamed for the chaos. Democrats are betting that the public will blame Republicans for the government dysfunction, especially with the visible mess at airports. House Republicans believe their voters will punish them for caving on immigration, so they are willing to endure the shutdown to win that fight. Senate Republicans fear the public will blame the entire Republican Party for failing to keep the government running, making them more eager to find a way out. President Trump's order to pay the TSA is a temporary patch. It alleviates the most visible symptom, the financial hardship of TSA workers, but it deliberately sidesteps the congressional deadlock. This doesn't resolve the underlying conflict over ICE and the DHS budget. The fight in Congress isn't over, it has just been postponed. The anger remains because the fundamental question of how to handle immigration is unresolved, and the TSA crisis has proven to be a potent but messy weapon in that ongoing war. Here's the two sides: the governing wing, the pragmatists. Who they are. This group includes many Senate Republicans and more traditional conservatives. They understand that to win general elections and maintain power, the party needs to appeal to more than just the hardcore base. What they want: stability and results. They see a government shutdown and chaotic airports as a massive political liability. Their thinking is, this makes us look incompetent and hurts everyday people, which will cost us votes. They are willing to compromise to keep the government running and solve problems. Their take on this fight: they see the House Republicans as purists who are willing to burn the House down for a symbolic victory, even if it means alienating moderate voters and causing real-world harm. The ideological wing, the MAGA hardliners. Who they are. This faction is dominant in the House of Representatives and is fiercely loyal to the America First agenda. Their primary audience is the Republican base, and their biggest fear is being seen as a Reno, Republican in name only. What they want: purity and no compromise on core issues, especially immigration. They believe that decades of compromise have weakened the country, and that now is the time to fight, not to make deals. For them, a government shutdown is a necessary tool to force change. Their take on this fight: they see their Senate colleagues as weak and part of the swamp that Trump promised to drain. They believe the Senate's compromise deal was a surrender, and that holding the line on ICE funding is more important than any temporary airport inconvenience. So, is this the start of the war? It's more like a decisive moment where both armies are on the field and refusing to back down. The conflict has been simmering through fights over debt ceilings, speaker elections, and aid packages. But this TSA crisis is different because it directly affects the public in a visceral way, turning an inside Washington fight into a national headache. Trump's move to pay the TSA is a classic maneuver. He swoops in to solve the most painful part of the problem, positioning himself as the pragmatic leader above the fray, while letting the underlying ideological war in his own party continue to rage. In other words, Despot Donnie always starting something, it allows him to appeal to both sides. He fixed the problem for the pragmatists while not forcing the hardliners to surrender their position. The big takeaway is that the Republican Party is no longer a unified entity, it's a coalition of two groups with very different goals, and they are increasingly willing to fight each other as fiercely as they fight the Democrats. This TSA showdown is just the latest, loudest example of that family feud. When will MAGA split? Subscribe.